Hello, I'm Doug Davison from SmiteWorks. Today I'm going to show you a little bit about what comes with some of the included character monster packs. So for now I've got the Dungeons & Dragons complete monster decal loaded here as well. And I've got a basic kind of rule set loaded up. And under your library you'll have any of the different packs that you may have purchased individually that you could open up. I'll kind of show you what a few of those look like so you get the gist of it. And then just give you a few examples there, and then I'm going to actually load the entire monster manual, which is the complete core monster manual. So basically, when you get this list, all you do is you double click it, and then it'll open it up and show that in your library module. So now it's opened it up, it's all loaded, ready to roll, and I can close it. So in the main pack, I'll show you that first. What that comes with is a list of images and maps, the different monsters. So this is stuff that you can then share these with your players just by right-clicking and saying share sheet, and then share that with your players. If they're connected, it'll show once they receive that image. So instead of describing the monster or turning the book and holding it up for them to see, you've got it all kind of easily referenced there. In addition, you've got there's only a few tables, maybe just one table here. This is for rolling to see what kind of loath this one. I forget which creature actually has this one. Oh, a troll. There you go. So this will be linked in the troll's description. I'll show you that in just a minute. And then you've got your reference manual material here. You can click on these to then read various sections from the book. Most of the monster manual itself is actually just monster stats, which is exactly what you'd want it to be. But there's a little bit of text here that you can kind of read through as well. So not much, but it will explain, the basic types of creatures, alignment, armor class, and then what the different abilities and so forth mean. So you still have that material available if you need to refer back to it without going back to your book. Okay, finally, the meat and potatoes of the pack is going to be what we call NPCs. And so right now you got a couple of different ways, different indexes in a sense, that you can open up. So here's a list that's by alphabetical, and here you can collapse them all and you can browse. Just look for anything that starts with E or H or whatever, and you've got just gobs and gobs of monsters available. So here I've got a hobgoblin, and you'll see it's got a token as well that I can include that'll show up on maps in the combat tracker. Here's all of its different abilities. You've got all of its core attributes at the top here, and then inside of each one of those you can click on the check to roll that, or you can click a saving throw, like a strength saving throw. This also factors in, like if you were to drop a spell as a PC on this creature and I had to do a dexterity saving throw, then here it would automatically roll that for you and then say whether it succeeded or it failed. I'll show that off in just an example here too. And then finally you have the actions and the attack. So here I've got a melee weapon attack. I can pick this up and roll it. Or if I have a combat that's going on, if it's on a map, or if I just have a theater of the mind kind of combat running, I could pick it up and drop it directly on a person here, and it says, oh, I hit, so now I'll just roll over to the damage portion, and you'll see that here it says if you hit, then it's going to deal on average 5 damage, 1d8 plus 1 slashing. I can drop that on the creature, or I could target it and roll it, and it automatically rolled the damage and applied the wounds to my creature, or to my PC in this particular case. So here's the other one. So if I had been using that, if I clear this out again here, if the creature was using his weapon as a two-handed, then that's already factored in this case here, and now it's got the the variant damage for rolling it with a two-handed swing. So it makes it real simple, and then you also have the full description from the monsters manual all loaded in, so you can kind of refer back to that. Again, just very quick and easy to pull up a monster and look him up, pull up the image that you can then share with the players, and then you're basically off and running. So if you were to use him in a combat, what you could do is you could very simply just grab a hobgoblin and say, okay, well, I want 3 hobgoblins. So you could run this way, for instance, and then maybe you say, well, I also want maybe a hippogriff is running around with them and it's under their control. So let's grab a hippogriff and drop that in. And then again, the same sort of thing. You can pull up and look at the hippogriff's image, read about it, read why it probably is not hanging around with a bunch of hobgoblins, and then from here, when you're running your combat, you can close all these things down and just refer to the combat tracker. And so when you're going through your turns, when that creature's turn comes up, it automatically shows you the most relevant information that you'll probably need to make your encounter run very smoothly. So here I've got my my main attacks. Again, I can just pick them up and drag them and drop them. And here I hit again. I could just drop the damage, and it applies it, and then I move on to the next creature. If you, for instance, need to see what the defense is of the creature, you can toggle that on or off. You could look at the excuse me, the stats of the creature here, and again, you could roll dice for those to see what the checks are for any of those creatures by double clicking it, or picking it up and rolling the dice here, and it knows that that was Hobgoblin 2 making that specific check. Then if you need the full stats, you click on the little link here, the dragon head, and then that again pulls up the full character sheet, and you can check and see if they happen to have any perception or anything like that. So that's a real quick and dirty way you can do it. Another way that works really, really well is you can go into your NPCs, and let's say you're going to do this for you're prepping a campaign that you plan to run later. So here you go to your encounters, and you'll create a new encounter. Let's call it a Hobgoblin attack. Before I do that, I'm actually going to clear these out. So let's say delete and remove all the unfriendlies. Cleared out my combat tracker, and I've just got my PCs now in there. I'm going to go ahead and reset our initiative into clear all initiatives. Okay, so now I need a few monsters. So I got a couple options here. So what I could do is I could grab just some NPCs like I did before. I can go to my alphabetical index and move this out of the way here. Let's see. Type in the first couple of characters. Here it narrows the list down, shows me all the hobgoblins that I have. I can pull them up and then drag them over to the encounter, and that's one hobgoblin. Got a captain, and I could drag him over. Let's use him here. What you can do is if you want to customize him from what's in the bestiary, you unlock him, and then here, let's say if his armor class is an 18, you can come through and modify that, and plus 1 ring of protection, and that's why his armor class is better, for instance. You can also modify all of his attributes, or give him new damage immunities or condition immunities, that sort of thing. Look at some of the other monsters to see how those are set up if you want. And so that looks good, so I'll lock that back down, and then I'll drag my new captain, which is customized, over here. It'll be set, and then let's come up with a little bit more interesting monster here. Okay, so how about maybe just scanning through the list here. An air elemental would probably be pretty good since it has damage resistance to lightning, thunder, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons. So I could drag that over, and now I've got an air elemental in my campaign, in my encounter. So I'll close these things down. Now what you do is you go through and you set how many of each one are appearing. So I've got maybe 4 of these guys into hobgoblins. So again, if I'm just running Theater of the Mind, I want to run with this encounter really quickly. You still have to manually calculate the CR and the XP for now by kind of totaling up the sums here. But eventually we'll put like an auto calc feature in there. That way, when you're adjusting on the fly, you can just hit a button and it'll auto update. I don't know when that'll come out, but probably pretty soon. All right, so once you've got this encounter that shows up in your encounter list, you can link that to a map where it occurs, or you can link it into a story entry that you've done for your kind of campaign outline that you have laid out. Or you can just keep a whole handful of different things, and when the players go off the beaten path, you can launch it at them at that appropriate time. So here, if I say add encounter to combat tracker, what it does, it automatically drops them all in here, and you'll see that all of them right now, they have the standard hit points that the character has, based off the list here. So it says, okay, well, these have 39 hit points is what they're loaded into. So what you want to do, let's say you wanted to have it automatically recalculate hit points randomly. So let's remove them all. If you go into your preferences, check out all these preferences. There's lots of really cool stuff here. But one of the things is, I can find it here, combat tracker NPC hit points. So standard is just going to bring over what's in the monster manual as the kind of average sort of rolls. Max, if you want your monsters to be real tough, I'll do that same thing. And if you remember, the one captain's had 39, and now they've got 60, and the air elemental has 144. And these guys did have 11, now they got 18. So that's if you want really, really tough encounters. Your players are kicking your monster's butts a little too easy, and they're looking for a challenge, and you can set it to be max. If you want instead to make it average, you just set it to random. So again, random, drop this in, and that gives a little bit more variability. This would be a pain in the butt to track each of these things separately if you were trying to run it at a tabletop, but in an online one, it's pretty nice, and it's actually a little bit more realistic. You know, there's going to be tougher hobgoblins than others, and you could even go so far as to describe, well, Hobgoblin 3 looks a little tougher than the rest. The players will only see that he's healthy or wounded or whatever, but they won't know, okay, I have to deal exactly 11 points of damage to kill him, so I'm going to maximize my use of this spell if I'm min-maxing the damage dealt across a group or whatever, I don't know. But that gives you a little bit more variability. You can use that if you want. I kind of like running with that sort of a rule, so I would probably leave that on for my games. Then you can also determine how much information you want to show, you know, when you're on the map and battles and that sort of stuff. But anyway, so there you go. That's your kind of basic characters. Let's see. I'll roll initiative here, and I'll roll for the PCs since the NPCs already had their initiatives, and that puts them all in order there. Okay, so when you're going through, what happens is now each of these gives you all their attacks. That's all standard as before. Here's an example. You've got a saving throw, and there's an effect that's being dealt as well. Save versus dexterity. So you probably want to read up on that and figure out exactly how that all works by kind of reading about this whirlwind. It's a recharge ability. So you could say, okay, well, it's going to go grab, it's going to target multiple creatures. Then you can say, okay, well, it's going to target, let's say it's going to target 3 of the NPCs. Normally on a map, you would just control click on the ones that you want, but this is how you can do it. You can kind of drag that over to the people in the combat tracker, and it'll set, okay, these 3 people are getting attacked. Now I'm going to have them do this whirlwind, saving throw. I'll just roll this. It rolls the 3 dice, automatically says, okay, well, these 2 failed and one of them succeeded. And then here you say, okay, well, that was, in that case, you're doing, or you pull it from here. Either place basically should work, but you can pull it from here and say damage 3d8 bludgeoning here. So now it's going to automatically deal the damage to people that got hit with that. So that makes it pretty easy. Let's see, what else does it do? So yeah, so then you could do this alternate effect, which is only if it's thrown at another creature. So you could determine if that applied in this particular case, and then you could therefore say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do this other one, and kind of launch that effect. So it makes it real pretty easy to run your encounter, keeps it nice and simple. But the thing that I really want to show you is how this particular creature happens to have a defense. So it's resistant to bludgeoning and piercing. So if I was to pull up that character sheet, normally the player would handle their own character sheet, but let's see, I've got a halberd, which is doing slashing. I've got a longbow, which is doing piercing. None of those are magical though. So however, if I was to, let's say I hit the creature, let's see if I actually hit it. Yeah, I actually did hit it. So now that was with what? My halberd. So the player would then just grab his attack damage and drop it on the target, normally on a map or something. But here you'll see, okay, well, that was partially resisted. And so here it did half damage. So now it automatically deducted it. So instead of 4 damage, it dealt 2 to the creature because it knows that it has resistance to that type of damage, and the creature, the damage attack from the player is listed as slashing or piercing. So really, really powerful effects. The same thing applies if you were to launch a fireball at something and it has immunity to fire. You know, all of a sudden, all of the fire elementals are not going to be injured by that, even if they're in the area of effect. Let's see, what else can I show you guys? All right, so that's the main NPC. Let me show you one more thing here. You can also pull a challenge rating, and here you can just look for something that's going to be appropriate for your party. If you want one big bad that's going to be appropriate for a CR11 encounter, just pull it up that way. Let's see. you kind of look through those lists there if you want. You can search on any of these lists. Anywhere where you see the magnifying glass, you can search. You can pull it up by class. So here you've got the different ones: aberrations, different types of aberrations, beasts, celestials. These basically give you an indication of what's in those sub packs. Like if you were to buy just the celestials and fiends, you'll get all of these fiends, and you'll get all of these celestials. So you'll get like all these guys and that, the fiends, all of these kind of broken out as well. And so if I show you those, so like if you only want to pick up the aberrations pack, these packs are like $5 a piece. So you get like a bunch of monsters all at once here that you can use to kind of spice up your campaign. And you might want to do this for creatures that are a little bit more complex. If you like to enter in your own creatures, you can enter all of this in. I've got another video that I posted that shows you, how you can kind of key that in. But if you really want the cool tokens for, some special monsters that you have, that's a pretty cool token. And then what I didn't show you though is that these same tokens look great on a map. So if I was to hide all these, let's say I've got a map pulled up here with some players on it already. So what you would basically do is you could just drag these over. You can also preset them. You'll see how it's kind of invisible for now. I'll show it in just a second what that does. In this case, all my hobgoblins look the same, so that's not going to be as exciting. But it gives you a good idea. Alright, so these are all invisible. You can turn them on or off individually to make them visible to the players, or you can mark them as all invisible. And there you got some nice creatures, but especially if you were to grab, I think that one, that Chul looked fantastic. So some of these, the monster manual, if you've seen the in-print book, looks fantastic, and you get all those same images all ready to go and loaded and linked with your NPC from the start. So I hope you see that this is a really good value. If you don't, then feel free to enter your own monsters, and you can still get all the same functionality of it. It doesn't add any new real functionality. It's done all the work for you. And we try to break it up so that you can look at individual packs and you don't have to buy it all at once if you don't want to. So look for more videos. This has been Doug Davison with Smiteworks and with Fantasy Grounds, and stay tuned for more videos throughout the week.